Thank you for your patience, committee. Sorry about that. We are now live.
Thank you. So to anyone watching or waiting to speak to the committee, apologies, we've had some technical difficulties, but we'll get underway now. So good afternoon to everyone. I'd like to call the meeting of the County of Haliburton Land Division Committee to order at 1:08 p.m. My name is Liz Danielson, and I'll be serving as the chair for today's meeting. I'd like to introduce you to other members of the committee. Tammy McKelvey, Councillor at Large from Linden Hills.
Good afternoon.
Pat Kennedy, Public Member representing Dysart et al. Bob Snyder, Public Member representing Highlands East, and Bill Donald, Public Member representing Algonquin Highlands. Also joining us today as members of county staff is our Senior Planner and Secretary Treasurer, Kim Bishop. And should she be needed for any particular reason, our Director of Planning, Elizabeth Purcell, will be or can be made available. We also acknowledge that this meeting is being held in accordance with both the Planning Act and the Municipal Act. I'll begin by respectfully acknowledging that the County of Haliburton is located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We acknowledge a shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area and recognize its original inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest for items on today's agenda? Seeing none, we will proceed with the agenda. Could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda as circulated? Members McKelvey and Kennedy. All in favor? That's carried. The next item is the adoption of the minutes for the Land Division Committee meeting of September the 9th. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Member Snyder and Member Donald.
I'll just read that resolution, Madam Chair. So moved by Member Snyder, seconded by Member Donald, be it resolved that the minutes of the Land Division Committee meeting held September 9th, 2025 be approved as printed and circulated.
All in favor? That's carried. So we'll move forward with the hearing for applications. For each file, staff will provide a summary of the applications and their recommendations. The committee will then have an opportunity to ask questions of staff to gain a broader understanding of each application. The applicant or their agent will then have a chance to speak, followed by members of the public who may wish to comment. Each participant will be provided 5 minutes to speak to the committee and respond to questions that are raised. Following all submissions related to an application, the committee will deliberate and make a decision, which may be subject to appeal as provided under the Planning Act. So we'll move. The first application on file is file number H026 and 027 for the creation of 2 rural lots. I'll now invite Kim Bishop, our Senior Planner, to present a staff report.
Thank you, Chair Danielson. I will just share my screen. The committee is able to see my screen.
Can see a screen. It just says Land Division Committee.
Yeah. Perfect. No, that's that's the slide presentation. So just wanted to make sure it was loading. There we go. So thank you, Chair Danielson. We have 2 applications for the committee today, H0625 and H0725. These are applications to create 2 new rural residential lots. The property in question here is part of lots 14 and 15 in concessions 3 and 4 in the geographic township of Harburn in the municipality of Dysart et al. Our subject property here is 1273 Dignan Road, which is just south of Hudson Road, which is in the South Bay of Haliburton Lake. The committee may be somewhat familiar with this property. About a year ago, in August of August 12th, 2024, the Land Division Committee did hear applications for these properties, which permitted the creation of 3 rural lots. So that application, the retained lands, which is the lot 4 that you can see at the bottom of the sketch here, and the severed lot 3 that you can see on the sketch here are unchanged. And so lot 3 was H03224. What happened is that the applicants, once they received provisional consent back in 2024, proceeded to start working on fulfilling their conditions of consent. And then it was discovered at that point that their severed lot 1 included lands that were actually owned by the municipality of Dysart et al. And so they had to resubmit with a new lot configuration for lots 1 and 2. And so the principal changes that we're seeing here from what the county approved back in 2024 is that the building envelope and entrance on lot 1 have been relocated from Hodson Road to Dignan Road. And then the lot area for lot 2 was reduced from just over 17 hectares to 14.7 hectares to increase the lot area for that area that they had lost, that they thought they had that they no longer had. There have been no changes to the entrance or the development location on our lot 2 here. So we're primarily looking at lot 1. And this is just a zoom in so that the committee can see. So back in 2024, you'll see that our envelope here had a dwelling and potential septic system located just on the south side of Hodgson Road. You'll see that that land is actually owned by the municipality of Dysart, and then they've had to relocate the location of the proposed dwelling entrance and septic area to lands located off of Dignan Road. So the primary kind of driver here, pardon me, I'm getting used to these screens, is that the proposed driveway location for the development envelope on lot 1 here requires encroachment into a 30-meter wetland buffer that was recommended by KBM Environmental Consulting back in 2024 as and was meant to be sort of put into a severance agreement and zoning bylaw amendment. As a result of this encroachment, the applicants were required to have an addendum prepared to that EIS, and it was peer reviewed by the county's consultant, Greer Galloway. And after reviewing this, both KBM and Greer Galloway advised that there would be a request for review required. This is an application process through the Department of Oceans and Fisheries, which is required prior to undertaking site work to install a driveway in any area where you may have fish habitat. And so what you will note is there's a dark blue line that sort of bisects where that entrance location is on the site plan provided. That is a watercourse that sort of meanders its way back out to Haliburton Lake over by Hodson Road. And it was determined by KBM and sort of confirmed in consultation with Greer Galloway that there is the potential for fish habitat here. So in terms of policy and those sorts of things, the biggest concern here is the provincial policy statement requires that development and site alteration shall not be permitted in fish habitat except in accordance with provincial and federal requirements. And so this lot layout requires a Department of Oceans and Fisheries review to make sure that it can be done in a way that doesn't cause a significant hazard or death to fish, and can implement any sort of best management practices in terms of culverting or redirecting any water in this location. In terms of the county and local official plans, we have included requirements or in the proposed conditions that we have. Pardon me, I'm a little bit nervous on my first day here. We've included a requirement that the Department of Fisheries and Oceans does a request for review, and that any best management practices, recommendations, or requirements from that, the EIS or the addendum to the EIS be included in the severance agreement that needs to be executed with the municipality of Dysart. We've also requested that any of that request for review be done prior to getting entrance permits for these properties to make sure that an entrance can be provided that's adequate and fulfills provincial policy. I did go out and do a site visit. I'm not sure if any of the members had an opportunity to go out there. It is fairly steep topography in there. It's your typical Fort Irwin. There's a lot of changes in elevation, outcroppings. The wetland features are fairly evident and obvious on the site, so it is a highly constrained property. And so staff are concerned about the ability to get a driveway in on lot one. However, provided that all of the requirements that have been placed on the application in terms of the conditions for both lot one and lot two around entrance approvals, implementing the recommendations of the EIS and any DFO review. Staff are of the opinion that provided all of those things can be satisfied, this does constitute good planning. It does conform to the county and local official plans, and it is consistent with the provincial policy statement. And I'm happy to answer questions should the committee have any.
Okay, thanks, Kim. You're doing fine. We started with a rather intricate application, so you're doing fine. Any questions from members of the committee? Member McKelvey.
So there's several conditions on here. So will they be told they really need to get fisheries and oceans dealt with first before? Like, I'm just questioning the process as far as who's on first. We're going to approve this subject to these things, or we're being asked to approve these subject to these conditions. But I mean, if fisheries and oceans doesn't agree with us, nothing else needs to really be done on these conditions. Am I correct in that?
To Member McKelvey through the chair, the agent for the applicant, who I do believe is in attendance, their request was that the DFO approval be considered as a condition of consent rather than something to be completed beforehand. So we have conditioned that. You will note that for lot one, the condition for the entrance requires that the sort of culverting or any of that work be addressed prior to that entrance permit being issued. And then generally speaking, no development is kind of permitted until such a time as you've satisfied all of the conditions on the consent. So ultimately, if they get in there and Department of Fisheries and Oceans says that you cannot, put a culvert in here, you cannot get a driveway in here, there's an unacceptable risk to fish habitat, the applicants would have to either come back to the committee with a proposed different location. I think they've got a very constrained site. So right now, that, in their opinion, that's the only spot they can put it. Or what happens is the consent essentially dies. They cannot fulfill the conditions prior to the 2-year lapsing period, and they're not in a position, unfortunately, to get their deed stamped and convey these lots.
Go ahead, Member McKelvey, and then Member Snyder.
So, hopefully all the ducks come in a row here, but if they don't, so then that would mean lot one and lot two, I believe it is, would just stay as one bigger lot then? Is that how this would work in the event that they can't satisfy those conditions?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still questioning whether we shouldn't have DFO involved first, but that's just me.
And through the chair to Member McKelvey, ultimately, if the committee wishes to defer pending that, that is kind of your prerogative.
I would have thought that it would be the applicants, if they realize that DFO approval is key, that they would do that first, as opposed to, following through with anything else and then finding out that they weren't going to get DFO approval. But Member Snyder, you had a question?
Thank you. My question was actually similar. That if DFO approval is not received, then the consent application for lot 2 also fails?
Through the chair, what I would suggest is that if they're not in a position to get DFO approval, we would have to have a conversation with the applicants. What I would foresee, and certainly I can't speak on their behalf, is that there is a development envelope on lot 2, and that's the sort of the same envelope that was reviewed and approved by the committee last year. Potentially, we would ask those folks to bring forward an amendment to their application to essentially create 2 lots instead of 3 here, where you would combine lots 1 and 2 into a single larger parcel where we do know that there is a viable envelope and a driveway location, and it would just be an oversized lot. That would be kind of, I think, the best scenario, the least messy scenario, but certainly the applicant agent can speak to that as well.
Any other questions by the committee?
Thank you.
Councillor McKelvey, Member McKelvey.
Sorry to keep harboring, I just got to get my head around this. So, okay, so if they satisfy the conditions of lot 2 and lot 3, but they can't on lot 1, doesn't lot 1 automatically get a severance then? Like, are these tied together? I just need to make sure that they don't get 2 and 3 if they don't get 1.
Through Member McKelvey, my understanding is that 3 has been approved with provisional consent. And so that consent is like the clock is running on that one. These 2 today, I mean, I would be of the opinion that if they cannot make something work on lot 1, they would have to consolidate lots 1 and 2 into a single parcel, because they could satisfy the conditions if they were to combine those 2. They just don't, just according to their own environmental consultant, they do need departments of oceans and fisheries to confirm whether or not sort of crossing this water course is something that they'll be in a position to do. My understanding of having done a couple of DFO approvals in the past, it's more about ensuring that they have appropriate risk sort of management and mitigation on the site. We did note in the EIS addendum that they couldn't confirm that this was actual fish habitat at the time that they were there on site. It just has the characteristics of fish habitat. So my guess, if I'm in a position to guess, would be that Department of Oceans and Fisheries will simply have a number of conditions that need to be satisfied in terms of time of year for doing the construction work, not during spawning seasons, that kind of thing. And ultimately, DFO approvals tend to be fairly straightforward to receive. It's just, and this is a scenario where we have to make sure they get one before an entrance goes in.
Other questions by committee members? If not, we would invite the applicant's agent to speak to the application, and possibly they can provide a little bit of clarification as well as to how they will proceed.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Guess
Good
you can
afternoon.
hear and see me. My name is Aditya Srinivas. I'm a planner at EcoView Consulting, and I'm the agent on this application. I'm representing Mr. Brian Brum, who's the client. I guess Ms. Bishop covered everything. These applications were provisionally approved back in August of 2024, and when we authorized the surveyors, we realized that a huge chunk of Lot 1 was actually owned by the municipality. So we had to make some changes to the lot configuration, and we had to come back. Also, with regard to the members' question regarding DFO review, so we had to go back to Cambium, who's our EIS sub-consultant, who prepared the EIS report and the addendum. They were comfortable in suggesting that the DFO review could be done as a condition of consent. And that's the first thing we will be worrying about as well, if we get the provisional approval on these consents. Only if DFO review is successful, then can these lots be created. If not, lot 1 and lot 2 would just be one big lot. So I think I hopefully clarified that, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do committee members have any questions for the applicant's agent? Hearing none, thank you, sir. If you could read the resolution that we have, please.
Certainly. So the proposed resolution for applications H2625 and H2725 are as follows. That the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton receive the report related to applications for consent H026/25 and H027/25, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of the applications for consent H26-25 and H27-25, subject to the conditions of approval.
Could I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by member Kennedy, seconded by member Snyder.
Okay. So moved by member Kennedy, seconded by member Snyder, that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton receive the report related to applications H2625 and H2725, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of applications for consent H2625 and H2725, subject to the conditions of approval.
All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, so the next application on the agenda is file number H029 for the creation of a new rural lot. And I will now invite Kim to present the staff report.
Thank you. I'll just get my screen shared here. Okay. So before the committee today is application H29/25. This is for the lands of Brown. The location of this is part of Lot 2 in concessions 9 and 10 in the geographic township of Monmouth in the municipality of Highlands East. The address for this property is 1642 Glamour Lake Road, and the purpose here is to create one rural lot. The applicable sort of policies here is we're looking at the county's rural lands policies and the Highlands East official plan policies for rural lands, and the zoning for this property is currently RU or rural. So this application is to essentially split a property in half. Mr. Brown originally owned all of the 100-acre lot, all the way up to the intersection of Glamour Lake Road and Medill Road. Back in 2025, he severed a parcel that's outlined in purple on the screen for the committee to see. The proposed lot for today is a 13.5 hectare lot with approximately 335 meters of frontage on Glamour Lake Road, which is maintained on a year-round basis by the municipality. This parcel is currently vacant. The RU zoning here would permit a wide range of rural uses. Our retained lot, which is outlined in orange on the sketch attached, will have an area of approximately 16.1 hectares with about 427 meters of frontage on Glamour Lake Road. This property is currently developed with an entrance, dwelling, and the requisite accessory buildings that you would normally have on a rural residential lot. No comments have been received by the public or agencies. In terms of our policy, the provincial policy statement permits new lot creation in rural areas, provided that the appropriate provisioning of water and wastewater services can be provided. Like every other property in this area, you would be looking at a class 4 septic system and a dug or drilled well for this property. Let me just get this up in front of me. My apologies. So the application was heard by Highlands East Council. I actually wrote the staff report for that a couple of months ago in my previous capacity as junior planner there. And so essentially, The only thing that was flagged by staff is that the Ducks Unlimited wetland mapping did show that there was a potential wetland feature located sort of on the east side of this property. Staff did go out and do a site visit. I did tromp through the bush a couple 100 feet. And we did take a look at both the local zoning and official plan mapping, as well as the Ministry of Natural Resources natural heritage mapping as well. We didn't see anything on there that sort of flagged wetland, to be completely honest. And as I'm sure the committee is aware, sometimes the Ducks Unlimited mapping can be a little bit unreliable. So staff did review it. This is going to be a very sizable property. So what we did is we included a condition that when they get it surveyed for their consent, we have asked that they provide us with a site plan showing a 1 hectare envelope that's free and clear of any low-lying areas, wetlands, or water courses. Having been on the site, I don't think that this will be a concern for this property owner to do so. So provided that the conditions of consent that are on the report are satisfied, staff are of the opinion that this is consistent with a provincial policy statement, conforms to the local and county official plan, and constitutes good and orderly planning. And I'm happy to answer any questions should the committee have them.
Are there any questions from the committee members for staff? Hearing none, I understand that there's no one here to represent the applicant. Is there anyone else in the audience today who wishes to speak to the application? I'm thinking the answer might be no. So I guess we have a resolution if there are no further comments. Could I have a mover and a seconder to bring forward the resolution? Member Donald and Member McKelvey.
I'll read that for you, Chair. Moved by Member Donald, seconded by Member McKelvey, that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton received the report related to application for consent H-02925, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H-02925, pardon me, subject to the conditions of approval.
And what we've done in the past, although we didn't do that for the first resolution, is for you to call for a vote from each member, Kim.
Oh, okay. So, absolutely. So let me go through my list. Well, I swear this will be smoother in November.
You're doing fine.
So I will start with Member McKelvey.
Yes.
Okay. Member Kennedy.
Yes.
Member Donald.
Yes.
Member Snyder.
Yes.
And Chair Danielson.
Yes.
A clean slate.
So that motion's carried.
Okay.
So our next application is file number H030 for a lot addition. So Kim, if you'd like to give us your report on that.
Absolutely. Okay, so this application H-03025 for the lands of Nelson is a lot addition. So our subject property here is 1068 Woods Road, which is sort of our long parcel here. The benefiting lot for the benefit of the committee is this smaller parcel here, which has the civic address of 1060 Woods Road. This property is located in Part Lot 10, Concession 6, in the geographic township of Dysart in the municipality of Dysart et al. As mentioned, that the purpose of this application is a lot addition. The pertinent policy here, these are rural lands located in the Dysart official plan rural areas, and the zoning for these properties is currently rural residential type 1 or RR-1. All right. So I have the severance sketch on here. The benefiting lands are outlined here in the blue. These lands are currently developed with a dwelling, septic system, and the standard accessories that you might have on a rural residential lot. The area highlighted in red here is the land to be severed from 1068 to 1060 to permit a driveway. And then the area highlighted in green, though it looks a little yellowy on our paper here, is the what will be the retained land. Highway 519 that we see to the rear here is Gellert Road, which is County Road 1. And the road here is Woods Road. So what we believe happened here is at some point, the property located at 1068 had the part of an old road allowance added to it. That's sort of all of these kind of jumble of parts that we happen to be seeing here. And so what they're looking to do ultimately is this area in red would be transferred from 1068 to 1060. This is about 1,500 square meters and would create 116 meters of frontage on Woods Road. Currently, this lot that is developed and has a civic address on Woods Road does not have legal access over the driveway that it's been using for a number of years. The retained lot would have an area of approximately 5,750 square meters with 234 meters of frontage on Woods Road. It's currently developed with an entrance, and there's a derelict dwelling and a couple of accessory buildings, sheds located on this property currently. In terms of the properties, while they both have frontage on the Gellert Road, if you were to do a site visit there, the topographic difference between Gellert Road and where the sort of access to these properties is, there's a fairly steep difference. So the safest and most reasonable access to both of these properties is to have them coming in off of Woods Road, which is a municipally maintained road on a year-round basis. In terms of policy, this one is fairly straightforward. This property is a rural residential use that is permitted in the rural lands designation of the provincial policy statement, the county's official plan, as well as the Dysart official plan. We're going to be continuing to maintain this use. So there's actually kind of no new development proposed other than that the retained land may be redeveloped at some point because the dwelling there is not in a habitable state, but it is an existing lot of record. The only thing of note is that we are within a kilometer of 2 gravel pits. However, because we're not proposing new lots or anything like that, and we're out of the 300-meter setback to sort of full stop, no new development to those gravel pits, staff don't see a concern there as well. So the conditions for this are fairly straightforward. Dysart staff did not believe this needed a rezoning, as they do meet the minimum, as the retained land will meet the minimum frontage and area for an RR1 lot, and the proposal would increase the area of an existing legal non-conforming lot for the benefiting lands. We will ask that the Ontario land surveyor who does the survey work for this confirms that both driveways servicing each property are now, in fact, on their own properties once this consent is finalized, but is otherwise, this is a fairly straightforward routine application that's, basically is going to solve a problem that's been long standing for quite some time. And just for sort of the committee, if they weren't able to attend, so the entrance on the left is to 1068. You can see the small dwelling and shed there. And then if we actually look at 1060, which is on the right, that kind of whole driveway that you're looking at there coming into the tree is actually owned by the neighbor to the south. So what we'd be doing is simply rearranging these lots so they made a little bit more sense. Dysart et al. Council endorsed this application subject to the conditions, some of which I've already outlined for you. We did receive one comment from the public over the weekend, so it is not appended to the agenda, but it was simply a landowner supporting the application subject to continued non-commercial use. So provided it was going to be continuing to be used for what it was historically used for, they supported the application and had no concerns. And so the recommendation from staff today is that this is consistent with the provincial policy statement, is in conformity with our local and county official plans, and is generally considered good land use planning. And we recommend the committee approve it subject to the conditions in my report. And I am happy to answer questions should council, or I need to stop saying council, committee have any.
Any questions from the committee members? Member Donald.
Kim, you've referred to Gillert Road and Woods Road. They're not indicated on the map. I'm having some difficulty understanding what is being transferred here, whether
Sure.
it's Part 5 or.
Oh, yes. Let me reshare that if you don't mind. It'll just take 1 second. Yeah, the sketch is a little bit
Confusing.
a little bit difficult to read. Okay, can everybody see the map?
Yeah.
That I've got up? Okay. So this old secondary highway 519, this is the location of Woods Road today. This new highway 519 is the location of the Gillert Road today. Right. And so Woods Road, if we follow this sort of all the way back, comes back out and loops out to the Gillert Road. So parts 4, 5, and 6, and 7 that we're seeing here all front onto what is currently Woods Road, which is this area in here. And then they would be added to the blue parcel, which currently has a driveway right over here, but it's a long-standing occupation is what we would call it. So they've been using it, they've been enjoying it, they've been maintaining it, but they don't own it. So what that'll do is this will provide this lot with qualifying frontage on the road that it actually accesses from, and would certainly help resolve any potential, liability concerns or anything like that for the property owner to the south who's currently had a driveway over that property for however many years that may have been. This looks like this was originally surveyed in 1968, so it's been there. The dwelling there is certainly I think probably would have been constructed probably in and around that era. So
okay.
It's
thank you.
Any other questions from committee members? Member McKelvey.
So I'm just wondering again, the order in which stuff should be done. Like, I'm concerned that those parts along Woods Road were actually conveyed to Dysart or maybe the county, because the old Highway 519 was conveyed to the county when it was changed over to County Road 1 or Gillert Road. But they'd already done this shift of the highway over. I'm concerned that property may actually not be owned by the person
Giving it away.
Yes. Same as, the first one where we tried to sever Dysart's land.
So through the chair to member McKelvey, Dysart staff did review this, and they could find no records that it had been conveyed to the municipality of Dysart. So they did include a condition in their application that the applicant was to provide confirmation of title from their solicitor. Their surveyor will find that out too at the same time. But ultimately, we don't see anything in our records here at the County of Haliburton that would kind of advise that way as well. So, and our mapping shapes are generally provided by Terranet, which is the land registry office. So, which is not to say there can't be errors in it. See the application that we had previously in Dysart, but we have added a condition in there that to the satisfaction of the municipality of Dysart, that they confirm that they own that land and they're in a position to transfer it to the owner to the west.
Thank you.
Any other questions from committee members to Kim? Hearing none, I would invite the applicant to speak to the application. Should you have anything to add? Good afternoon, Ms. Nelson.
Hi, how is everybody? I miss you guys.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you for considering this. It's the only thing that I would say that I do own both properties, and the property with the cottage on it, it was very difficult and near impossible to get any mortgage on it because it's considered landlocked in the eyes of the financial institution. So this would help any future person as well.
Any questions by the committee for the applicant? Hearing none, I believe that we, go ahead, Member Donald.
Yeah, these two properties are now legally separated?
Yeah, so my husband owns one and I own the other.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I believe we have a motion to grant provisional approval. Could I have a mover and a seconder for that resolution? Moved by Member Kennedy, seconded by Member McKelvey.
Thank you, Chair Danielson. Moved by Member Kennedy, seconded by Member McKelvey, that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton receive the report related to the application for consent H-031-25, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of the application for consent H-031-25, subject to the conditions of approval. And now I will ask one by one. Member McKelvey.
Yes.
Member Kennedy.
Yes.
Member Donald.
Yes.
Member Snyder.
Yes.
Chair Danielson.
Yes,
That is carried.
so that's carried and approved. Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Much appreciated.
Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. The next application is for, let me just get this right, is for a right-of-way. So if you would like to provide your report, Kim.
Sure will. Okay, our last application for today. So this is application number H-031-25. This is an application for right-of-way only over a right-of-way owned by 1005 McLaughlin Point Lane. The subject property is located in Part Lot 11, Concession 7 in the geographic township of Stanhope, in the township of Algonquin Highlands. The county plan designates these lands as rural. The Algonquin Highlands official plan designates them as waterfront, and the subject property, being the property where we'll be severing the right-of-way, is zoned Shoreline Residential 1. So I do have the severance sketch here on the screen. For the committee, the lands outlined in green are the retained lands. This is the property with the civic address 1005 McLaughlin Point Lane. The lands outlined in red, which is the traveled right-of-way for McLaughlin Point Lane, is owned by and is part of the property for 1005 McLaughlin Point Lane, pardon me. And the lands outlined in purple are to be benefiting. They're made up of the lands north and south of what was an unopened road allowance between concessions 6 and 7, which has since been closed and conveyed to those benefiting owners. So the severed land here is it's the traveled right-of-way. This land was recently surveyed because there was a consent application back in 2024 to permit the lot addition, or pardon me, it was September 11th, 2023, to permit the lot addition to create the lands that are outlined in purple here. So that consent has been approved and been taken up by the property owner. They have then since returned to the Land Division Committee asking that the lands outlined in purple be granted a right-of-way for driveway purposes over the existing traveled road for McLaughlin Point Lane. So the benefiting land here is vacant. There's not currently a dwelling on this property. The retained land is currently developed with a dwelling and accessories, including a boathouse. The retained land is 1.23 hectares, which does include the right-of-way. And, sorry. So when staff did review this, if you were to attend the site, so this is right across the road from Buttermilk Falls, along Halls Lake. There's a huge topographic kind of difference between Highway 35. This is looking back towards Carnarvon from the entrance of McLaughlin Point Lane. There's a huge topographic difference between sort of where any building envelope would be on this property and where you'd be able to access it from Highway 35. And then, as you can see here on the picture to the right, the driveway for 1005 is on the left. And where it appears somebody's punched in something for the benefiting land can be found here on the right next to my car. Staff did get some comments from the Ministry of Transportation regarding this application. MTO sort of affirmed what we believed to be the case, which was that they would not be in a position to get an entrance, given that there's an existing private road that they could use for access. But they did put a condition in there that any new driveway must be 45 meters from the intersection of 35 and McLaughlin Point Road. So I think these folks are probably going to have to move their proposed driveway. And that any building and land use permits are required for development on the retained or benefiting lands in the future. In terms of our policies, we don't permit the extension of private roads to create new development. However, this is an existing lot of record that was made larger through a consent application 2 years ago. And it would provide the sort of safest means of access to have it come in off of the existing road. McLaughlin Point Lane is maintained by a road association, and for a cottage road, it's in very good condition, and would provide certainly an adequate access point. So in terms of kind of the county policy and policy at the Algonquin Highlands level, staff are of the opinion that it is supportable and it is in conformity. Sean O'Callaghan did provide a recommendation to his council to support this in principle, and they did, and that resolution is attached to the agenda. So staff's recommendation today, pending any questions from the committee, is that the application be approved subject to the conditions in the staff report. And I apologize, it should say approve application H03125. I got my numbers mucked up in there, so my apologies.
Any questions from committee members to staff? Hearing none. I don't believe that we have anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to the application. So we do have a resolution granting provisional approval subject to the conditions as outlined. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by member Donald, second by member Snyder.
Moved by member Donald, seconded by member Snyder, that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton receive the report related to application for consent H-03125, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H-03125, subject to the conditions of approval. Right. I will remember this at some point. Member McKelvey.
Yes.
Member Kennedy.
Yes.
Member Donald.
Yes.
Member Snyder.
Yes.
Chair Danielson.
Yes. So
Perfect.
that's approved. Okay, that is the end of our applications. Written notice of the committee's decisions for all applications heard today will be provided in accordance with the Planning Act. There is a 20-day appeal period following the date of decision, during which any prescribed person or public body may appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Is there any other business to be discussed today?
Through the chair, I do just want to give a sort of a heads up for our November 10th, 2025 meeting. We will have 5 applications on that agenda. 2 of those will be for in the municipality of Dysart, 1 in Algonquin Highlands, 1 in Minden Hills, and 1 in Highlands East. So there is one for everyone. And once we're once we've got everything together, I'll send out the materials for the committee to review and do any site visits if they so choose.
Okay, sounds good. Is everyone available on November the 10th? It looks like it might be a very tight day for me with a number of different things, but I believe I'll be available. If not, I'll advise you, Kim, and Member Snyder can take over the helm. So if there's no other business, could I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn? Member Kennedy and Member Snyder. All in favor? That's carried.
Good
Thank you very
job, Kim.
much. Well done, Kim.
Welcome,
Thank
Kim.
you.
Good job. Yeah.
Okay.
Giving us lots
Welcome.
of
Good job, Kim.
Yeah,
Glad to have you on board.
yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
We'll see you in a month.
Okay.
Thanks.
See you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.